Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Abhishek Chandrasekhar, co-founder of Royal Brothers, a bike rental platform, and many of you would already know Royal Brothers. Uh, Abhishek is a graduate of RV College of Engineering. He started his entrepreneur journey in 2015. Hi Abhishek, welcome to ELI.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for hosting me today. And I'm very happy and glad to share my 6 years what we experienced with the listeners of ELI.
Uh, we would like to start with your introduction. Please introduce yourself or tell something about yourself to our audience.
Yeah, myself, Abhishek Chandrasekhar. I'm a mechanical engineering graduate. I did my mechanical engineering in RV College of Engineering, which is based out of Bangalore, one of the good universities or one good colleges. The purpose of going to this specific college was for me, while I was doing my intermediate, I saw that there is a team within the engineering college which makes Formula style racing cars in the college
Okay.
as their extracurricular activity, and it was all out in the newspaper, and I wanted to be part of that club. So one of the reasons why I wanted to pursue mechanical engineering and this specific college was this. So that's how fanatic or excited I am about automobile and bikes or cars. So
Mhm.
that's where the whole passion for mobility, everything comes to. So that's pretty much about me. I've done a small internship program. I did my internship in Pondicherry. I think most of the listeners would have heard of Auroville. So I was
Yes.
part of Auroville's one of the companies there. I did my internship for 15 days under a French founders. They had like the paper factory where I worked. Very fortunate to pick up a lot of learning from there and also realized what the life values because uh, mostly that is what Auroville is about. It's not about religion. It's not about where you come from. It's about who you are and how you treat other human being, right? So it was a great experience. After all of that, that's how RB started. Uh,
Mhm.
that would be the basic about myself. And I would come to a story of how it all started later.
Sure. Before we proceed with the session, I would like to share my testimonial with you. As a customer, I have been your customer back in 2018. There was one time when my girlfriend and now my wife decided to visit me in Bangalore, and I didn't have any vehicles that time, so I rented it from Royal Brothers. And went to Mysore with her. So it was a beautiful experience. So kudos to you. We will now
Thank you
start.
so much.
We will now start with the questions. Tell us about Royal Brothers. What does it do?
Yeah. So we at Royal Brothers, what basically the idea here is to solve the mobility problems of India. On a smaller scale, essentially like what you mentioned, you are one of a use case for us where you don't have a vehicle but you want to experience it. That's where you come to us, you rent a motorcycle, you go to any place that you desire, and then come back and return it. And all of this at a cost which is very fractional to the cost of owning a bike, right? So just because if your wife or girlfriend is visiting you or your family member is visiting you, you can't afford to own a bike, right?
Mhm.
You could always rather just go rent it because it would come at a fraction of cost and it's easier to maintain. So that is what we are all about. And also, if you just take Bangalore as a city, just imagine Bangalore's population is growing at a faster pace,
Mhm.
and just imagine if the government decides to add more public transportation, essentially buses or trains or whatever. Just consider just the buses. If you increase the number of buses that ply within the Bangalore city, the traffic congestion will actually increase.
Mhm.
So, what we are trying to solve is the mobility problem that India is facing. One, you don't have to financially commit to a bike for like 5 years or 3 years. You can rent and opt that particular vehicle for that particular duration. And the
Mhm.
second thing is, if you're a commuter who's going to work every day, you don't have to depend on a public transportation. At a cost of almost equal to public transportation, you will get a scooter on rent for a month. While you have a scooter for a month, if you really like to have a weekend expenditure, you can always go and shift to a Royal Enfield for 2 days, 2 3 days, and then again go back to your scooter. And all of this without having to own, without having to insure the vehicle, without having to maintain the vehicle. All of this back-end work is taken care by us, where your precious time is protected, right? Your time. And what we are is in 5 minutes, we let you make a booking on our website.
True.
Right. So you're not wasting a lot of time. That's what something that we want to bring into our customers, that every time a customer tries and books a bike year after year, we want to bring their booking time to a very least amount of time so that the experience becomes very seamless. So essentially solving India's mobility problem, I would say.
Fair enough. Tell us about the scale of operation you have right now.
Uh, Talk about scale. The idea when it all started, it was just Bangalore, one location, Indranagar. But eventually we realized that the scale, the demand, the requirement is pan-India. It's not limited to one location in Bangalore. So we immediately started applying for licenses in each state that we thought would be a potential fit for us. So the second state that we launched was Kerala, and then we applied licenses in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and now we are licensed to operate in 6 plus 2 other states in process, which is Odisha and Gurgaon for Haryana. Gujarat, we are the first ones. We have operations in Rajasthan. Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Telangana is also already present for us in terms of business operations. So in each of these states, we at least have one city that we operate, or if you've been in that particular state for a really long time, like a year or year and a half, then you would have already expanded to many other cities. Like if you take Andhra Pradesh for an example, we have been in Andhra Pradesh for 3 years. Now we are present in almost 3 cities in Andhra Pradesh. We're there in Vizag, we're there in Vijayawada, we're there in Guntur. Probably if we connect back next year sometime, we might have added Tirupati and any other Rajahmundry maybe. So that's how we deep penetrate, because we see India's mobility problem is not just limited to metropolitan cities. Because take for someone like a farmer who's living in a village, for him, even if he has to buy a fertilizer or to get a decent medical support, he has to go to a nearby town, which could be easily 20 to 30 or 40 kilometers away. But the number of buses that actually ply between a village and a town would be one bus in a day. But do you think the medical emergency will only be timed at that particular point of time? No. So that's where we see that mobility in India is much more essential. It's like an essential commodity for everyone. And we want to get to that eventually to every village in India. So that's the dream for Royal Brothers. That's the scale that we're imagining. That's why we have rapidly gone into other states, though a lot of businesses actually focus on becoming really strong in one particular state. Right.
Now tell us your story, like how you started, how did you find the co-founders and the team to build the venture, what were the initial days?
Got it. So we 2014, I was interning at Auroville. While I went to intern at Auroville, I planned on taking a vehicle on rent. I went with one of my close friends who went to school and college together. We were together most of the time. And we tried booking a bike. It was a very bad experience because there was no website, there's no communication. There's only one phone number. You call the phone number, he asks you to come and wait on the beach street early morning at 6. Not even sure if we will get a bike because we don't have a confirmation SMS, email. It's just a verbal communication. And we wait on the road. The guy comes in, delivers the bike. The bike is in whiteboard. There is no proper documentation. And he says that, okay, give me the money. We pay the money. We don't get a receipt. And then he says, if the cops catches you, just give me a call. I'll let you guys free. All of this. It sounded completely unprofessional. We said because I'm in a state where I don't know, my language is different. I speak Kannada, but I'm in Tamil Nadu, in Pondicherry, where Tamil is the most communicated language, but it was very hard for us, right? So how do we create that unique experiences where the idea triggered? And that day, while we were standing on the beach street waiting for our bike, that is where the idea kicked in. So the other guy who was with me is Akash, who is my co-founder, who heads the technology piece, or whatever you see in terms of website, mobile app, is either ideated or developed by him. So right now he's moved to a tech advisor role, and we've promoted internally other people to lead the whole thing in terms of technology. So this is where I found my other co-founder. And the other one is after we kickstarted RB. Uh, so we were 2-3 months into the business, and there was one competition that was coming up. It was called I don't remember the name, and I met the founders, and they were doing pretty good, and they wanted to aggregate, and we were into the asset ownership model, and we didn't pursue it, but we were a good friends. But eventually I got a message from the founder and saying that we've quit, we're not going ahead. I'm looking for a change. Then I immediately messaged him, said, why don't you come on board with us? So immediately met Mr. Kuldeep Purohit, who is also our co-founder, who heads our business development today, who leads most of our business development activities across India. Um, I met Kuldeep over a cup of coffee. We decided, we got him on board the same day. Morning, I got the message. Evening, he had the offer letter to join us. And then he went on to become the co-founder of Royal Brothers with a lot of responsibilities. Yeah. So this is essentially my team. And then there are a lot of other key players in the team who work under us. These are also very handpicked. What we follow at Royal Brothers is when we screen a person to work with us, essentially is we don't look at their marks cards. We look at their enthusiasm, their zeal to work for a startup, and what is the purpose of working for a startup. Most importantly, this is what matters for us, because unless you have passion, you won't be able to drive a startup. That's what we believe in. So none of the marks cards or your report cards are necessary to apply for Royal Brothers. So that's how the team is being built.
Okay. Uh, how about the finances? Initially, you are hiring, you are also uh, purchasing or renting vehicles for your operation. How did you manage all this from a finance point of view?
See, this problem is going to continue forever.
Hmm.
I'll tell you, because as you scale the business is only scaled by the number of vehicles that is being added to the system.
Hmm. True.
So you need constant finances to be pumped in to add more vehicles. Eventually, when we started, we went to a bank with a project report. They declined because we didn't have 2 years filed financials. So we didn't get the finances. So we had to borrow money from friends and all, put in the money and buy vehicles to the company. Eventually, Kuldeep came on board. He drafted a model called bike tagging, where an individual HNI, where a high net worth individual who doesn't want to operate a business but wants to earn a fixed return or a floating return in a monthly basis, he puts in an asset, and whatever the vehicle gives him a return, we pay him.
Mhm.
Got it. So we got that model through which today 25% of our inventory operates. So a lot of HNIs have put in money expecting a return on this particular business model. And then we have banks, we have leasing companies, which is our typical finance channels. And we also, as we grew, we also realized that it is becoming increasingly hard to operate in tier 2, tier 3 cities where we have very fewer control, right? So say, for example, if I were to operate in Coorg, which is part of Karnataka, which is almost 250 kilometers from Bangalore, and it's a hill station. Firstly, the network is very bad, and how people commute in Coorg is essentially, our communication happens there is through word of mouth, because it's a small village, it's a small town, everyone knows each other.
Mm.
But for a foreigner who is like 250 kilometers away from Coorg, to go set up a business is very hard to run a business there. So
Mm.
we figured out something called, we will build entrepreneurs along our journey, right? So that's where we came up with Royal Brothers franchisee opportunity. It's your money, your business, you run the show, but you use Royal Brothers as a brand. The good part with it is we give you all the guidelines, the brand, technology, everything that you can afford to use it. And you have customers walking in on the day one because you're working with the brand. So
Mm.
we started doing this. Today, every city in Karnataka, apart from Bangalore, is franchised out. It's locals who are running the business, and we take a small cut out of this revenue every time. And there is a one-time deposit that they have to do.
Okay.
So we have taken multiple routes to expand the business based on the geographic condition, because India is vast, right? So you move from Karnataka to Kerala, the language changes. You move to Tamil Nadu, language changes. Even the way the business is run, the cost of employment, everything changes every state. And the types of marketing, right? What
Mm.
works in Bangalore doesn't have to work in Kerala. your Facebook ads doesn't have to work the way it works in Bangalore and Kerala. So it's completely different. So we have taken a very geographical approach where every city that we operate, we take a different route.
Speaking of marketing, tell us about how you found your first few customers.
So the first few customers for us, one advantage that we had was we were the first ones to be licensed to operate rent a motorcycle in Karnataka. So it was not a easy part. We had to struggle 3 months. Every day we had to go to the RTO office just to apply for license and wait for the commissioner to approve the license. And the common feedback that we got was because it's the Motor Vehicle Act is a central act, but it is under the state's discretion whether to enable it or not enable it. So now the central government has told that you can rent a motorcycle, but the states have not approved it. So standing there, waiting there was really frustrating. But one fine day we decided that we'll go to the transport secretary who works right under the Ministry of Transport, right? And below them is anyone like the commissioners, the additional commissioners, or all of this comes in. So we went to the secretary. He was finally he was a very good gentleman. His name was P. Ravi Kumar. We presented the idea. We said how we are going to impact the business, right? Like the economy of Karnataka could go up because a lot of people would prefer to rent this, go on a ride. And since we are applying for a license, the purpose here was that we wanted to pay taxes as well, right? The moment you are a registered private limited company, you can't avoid taxes.
True.
So we are going to pay taxes, and the tourism is going to improve. And the other auxiliary revenues that would generate out of this is when you're traveling on a bike, you would definitely stop on the road with multiple stops, right? You'll stop at a restaurant, you might stop at a small chai shop, all of that. So we gave him the whole clear path, and he was really inspired by what we were doing. He approved the licensing piece, right? So when he approved the licensing piece, and then he only reached out to Economic Times from his side and told there are these young people who are trying to do this. Why don't you guys cover this, because we have just approved their license. And Economic Times covered us, and eventually all the other brands covered us. One smart move we did, I've never revealed this in any of the podcasts, I'm doing it for you guys today. Anytime, any state that we launch, we take one particular strategy. So we get the license. After we got the license, we reach out to a local minister or a MLA for the inauguration.
Okay.
So we take their help for the inauguration because it's one of a kind, right? Like for example, when we launched Andhra Pradesh, this was the first time that it was being launched. So their local ministry came in and said, yes, we want to do this because we want to tell people that our government has bought into this. Like this particular idea has been enabled during our term period. So we spoke to them, and then they pulled in a lot of media and they started covering us. So eventually, at a cost of nothing, we were able to generate our customers. So these are all some sort of smart moves that we have done. I wouldn't call it smart, but it was like it was a need of our hour for us because we didn't have a lot of money like what VC companies would have, because we were not VC funded. Even till date, we are not VC funded.
Okay.
But we were able to deliver results as good as any company that would have been VC funded, right? So all of these were strategies that we played.
You just gave an example of a growth hack that you have applied in your venture. Very interesting. Can you tell us about some more growth hacks that you have tried so that we can learn from them?
See, one of the growth hacks is essentially the bike tagging model that Kuldeep designed during his initial days at RV, right? So our biggest problem was how do we add more bikes? Simple, because the demand is huge. India needs a lot of motorcycles, a lot of people wants to commute, but how do we add bikes? So that is where we said we have individual HNIs who have money, but they're not using it. So they're essentially getting a bank return by keeping it an FD. But if they take a small risk and put in the money in the asset, then we could run it for them and give them a good returns. And that actually worked. And like I said, it's 25% of our inventory today. And any bike that we want to buy, say for example, we have investors who is like, okay, Royal Enfield launched this new bike. I want to experience it. I want to own it. First, I'll own it. I'll use it for 1,000 kilometers. Then I'll give it to Royal Brothers. Then Royal Brothers will rent it out to further more people, and I am going to make money out of it. And my desire and passion for the new bike is also fulfilled.
Mm.
So we enable that as well, right? So that's truly sharing. You can talk about it that way.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Um, Now that you have come a long way from where you started, and clearly you have found a good amount of success during your journey, what is the vision forward? What you want to become in next 5 years or 10 years time?
I want to be present in most of the Southeast Asian countries. That's the dream. Uh, uh, One fortunate thing is we've built technology that could be scaled to multiple states, multiple cities, multiple countries, uh, by just sitting in Bangalore or any of our regional offices. We can multiply the presence. It's just matter of time when we conquer all the or we are present in multiple states or every state of India, and then simultaneously we start our operations in maybe Sri Lanka or Thailand very soon. So that's the dream. Just imagine an Indian brand doing it uh, across Asia.
Absolutely, that's a very interesting dream. Um, any pivots did you do during your 5 6 years journey of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of pivots. Like one, when we started, we were only focused on this weekend expeditions. So it was only Royal Enfields or touring segment bikes. And then eventually we realized that there's a requirement for scooters, so we eventually add scooters. And from then we brought it down to Harley rental. Then we started adding packages where 7 days, 15 days is something that we wanted to generate, because someone who is looking for all of these was being evolution. But the most important thing that we've had was during the last year COVID. We see that the last year COVID was one of the greatest opportunities that was presented to us. One is a lot of us went through stress, but
Mm.
we kind of took back a step and said, how do we do it? Because we have to survive this. Otherwise, there's no point of being in business for 6 years and just giving up for a pandemic, right?
Mm.
So we came up with an idea where we called Royal Brothers X, RBX. Essentially, it is a subscription concept. For us to derive at this idea, I spoke to one of the founders who runs a massive company in the US. So
Mm.
he gave me one small hint. He said, "What was your business pre-pandemic, during pandemic, post-pandemic? Divide the whole business into three categories:
Mm.
pre, during, and post-pandemic,
Mm.
and analyze each customer's sentiments during this three phases. And
Mm.
you will be able to figure out that you can come out with a different idea which will help you survive this." So we did this. Pre-pandemic, everyone wants to go out. People are going out. They have multiple options. They have buses, cabs, trains, and all of it. But during COVID, all public transportation was on a halt. People wanted to follow social distancing. People wanted to have individual mobility. Earlier, it was not individual mobility. They were okay to commute with multiple people, right, in a bus or in a cab. So that is where the idea came in, where I can rent a bike. And the other thing was the uncertainty of how long COVID is going to last.
Mm.
So we gave people an option to rent a motorcycle for 9 months and don't have to pay at once. Every month, like a renewal of your subscription, you can renew. If
Mm.
you wish to cancel, there is a small fee that we will charge. That's it. So we launched this particular product. It took us like it was like huge. It was like a storm for us. 75% of our inventory went occupied
Mm.
through RBX. Today, the same principle we have applied in COVID wave 2. But while we discovered the RBX, the potential of RBX, because if a customer is taking a vehicle for 9 months,
Mm.
just imagine that for the 9 months for one vehicle, you have a confirmed revenue. You don't have to bang your head. You don't have to market your product. You don't have to pick up a customer care call. Nothing you have to do. You just have to maintain the vehicle, and the customer is paying every month. So that was the biggest pivot that we've had during COVID. And now our business model is going to evolve around that. So 50% of our inventory will always remain in RBX. 50% will be on daily rentals on this weekend expenditures.
What is the North Star metric for your venture now?
Profitability. It's always profitability. So the reason why we chose profitability, I'll tell you. We saw a lot of companies came on board, a lot of companies who raised millions of dollars, a lot of companies who have shut down, a lot of companies who have done a distress sale and phased out. But we were the ones who started early. We are the ones who are still surviving. This is purely because one thing, because everyone chased growth, we chased sustainability in our field, right? So we are not a tech company. We are a tech-driven bike rental company. The day we realize this, that we are a tech-driven bike rental company, the major revenue comes today from the bike, not from the website that I do, not from the website or mobile app. The revenue comes from the bike. The bike has to go out. And if the bike is going out, see, there's one principal unit economics problem with our business, right? If you don't get this right, you will never get it right. You discount a bike on rent. Say, for example, there is a beautiful Harley Davidson that you have on rent. You say that on an offer for the next 1 month, I'll give you Harley Davidson at just 500 rupees or 1000 rupees for 1 day. The problem is not the 1000 rupees. The problem lies because even if the vehicle gets overutilized, the cost of service is going to increase. Right? Say a bike can only run 1000 kilometers before it goes for next service.
Right.
So you have a fixed cost already. Apart from your EMI, you have a fixed cost on maintenance. If you don't factor these two in, you will never be able to become sustainable business in the mobility space. So that is one of the metrics that we've always focused on. And for that to happen, you have to be profitable, at least on a unit level, right? So our North Star metric is every inventory that we own, does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, it is not earning enough revenue, sell it off. Buy a different vehicle, which will make sense.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Now I'll ask questions around your personal journey of entrepreneurship and how you are managing it at a personal level. Can you tell us how do you stay energetic throughout your journey? How do you manage situations where you may feel tired or restless or you lose focus during your journey? How do you manage such situations?
It's very hard as an entrepreneur, and it's a very lonely place because you can't let your team members or any of your team people get to know that you're of low energy or you're disturbed, because that in turn will reflect the whole organization. So it's very hard to keep up that spirits all the time. But what I do is essentially take a lot of breaks, or maybe a quick nap to get out of stress, or some breathing exercise that I practice. Or the other thing that I do is I catch up with one or two friends every alternative day or weekly once or twice, a new face altogether, meet them, try and understand their story so that I have some change. Or if possible, I'll just invite them for a dinner that the very day, same day. I'll try to get off my stressful day or through a different experience. That's what I do most of the time. I'm not like a guy who sits and reads a book or anything. I'll be very frank and honest about it. So I'm someone who is more on the outdoors, talking to people, making connections, networking, all of that. So yeah.
How do you make decisions? What is the decision making process do you follow, especially for the tough decisions like whether to take funding, whether to pivot your business model, etc.?
So one is it has to make financially make sense. The very important thing, or it should at least make everyone in the team happy, right? So one, it should make financial sense. And second thing is all of us are really happy about it and really okay to chase that growth. The most important thing that I do before I take a decision is I talk to someone in the industry that I know that can give me the right direction. So I have a lot of mentors. I would not like to name them, but really, really big companies like founders or presidents of companies whose companies are already IPO, who's gone for IPO or who's in the phase of IPO. I reach out to them shamelessly and I'll ask for help every time. And I don't do it. I don't care about it. I don't care what they think. It's been 6 years. I still do it. If I need help, I need help. It's okay to ask for help. And a lot of founders that you know, I don't know, if you once get connected and if they like if they really like your passion, not even your product, if they really like your passion, they'll definitely help you.
True, so true. What is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How do you define entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so for me, the word actually not doesn't excite or make anything, or personally I don't feel anything about it. Like if you say someone is calling me an entrepreneur, doesn't make any sense, or it doesn't excite me as such, right? I'm being very honest in this conversation. But for me, the whole idea of, I'm more excited about the word business or a startup, because we are trying, one is we are trying to bring value to a lot of people. The second thing is we are also creating employment, right? And with the mindset that India runs in, right? So let's not blame our parents, but most of us are forced to get employed.
True.
Right? So even I was forced to and pursue my MBA or any of it, right? So that excites me, where we are trying to create something where we are taking a risk to do something that has not never been done. Like when we first started Bike Rental, it was never done. It was the first one. So a lot of people doubt you and you're still doing it, and there's some intuition or passion within you that you're driving it. So it's that is what I think is more about entrepreneurship or business that excites me to keep this alive.
Okay. Final question. Due to constraint of time, I'm limiting it to just one question. Tell us about the lessons you have learned as an entrepreneur, which we can take away and apply it in our ventures.
First thing, the most expensive mistake that I ever did as an entrepreneur, uh, never get into any founder agreement or any startup without a shareholder agreement. SHA, it's called SHA, shareholder agreement. Never do it without SHA. People are going to screw you around. I've had an experience with this, right? Any business relationship that you do during your phase as a startup, maybe you're a founder, you might be a CEO, maybe you're getting your friend to work for you, maybe you're working with one of your relatives to get a particular thing done for your product. Always do the agreement piece.
Okay.
There's no relationship in business. It's professional. So never go by your sentiments or emotion, go by your business instincts on this, right? So this is one very important lesson that I've learned. And value people. When you do your agreement piece, a lot of people might take it as offensive. Hey, why do we need an agreement? We know each other. No. Do this piece, treat them the same way. Treat them very well, treat them in a nice manner, but agreement has to be there because emotions can change any point of time.
True.
Right? So this is something. And most important lesson that has kept us alive even after two pandemic waves, a lot of companies raising a lot of capital more than us, is customers. Our customers really like the product that we make or the services that we provide, and our customer experience is seamless. Yes, we have bad reviews on our website. We might have bad reviews on our app store. But if you just go back and look at the number of positive reviews that we've had and the number of customers that we have served, the number is very insignificant. We are in the service industry. I honestly try and tell every customer that faces a problem with us is that we don't do anything intentionally. It happens, and there's a lot of supply chain, right? So there is vehicle, there is a person who's delivering the vehicle, there is a different person who's servicing it, there is someone who's taking a booking, there is someone who's picking up the customer's call. It's altogether different, but there is no intention as such for us to cheat or give a bad service. But even if someone faces a difficulty, we are at their help. So a lot of companies have come and tried to sell their SaaS product where they will automate the whole customer experience. They'll bring in a automated chat bot which will respond to our customers and all. Till date, we as a company, as founders, have always gone against it because we want to hear our customers. If it is pain, if it is great experience, we want to listen to you. So that is what has made us a really, really different brand. And we will continue to do it. And probably we'll think of a chatbot only once we have done like one crore customers that we have served.
So interesting. We have come to the end of the session. It was a real pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for your time, Abhishek, and our best wishes for Royal Brothers. And speaking of bad reviews,
Thank you.
me being a past customer, I can tell you have built a very seamless experience for the consumers.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Really nice sharing my experience. I wish this will be helpful for someone someday. And I'm happy if people want to reach out. I'm available on Instagram or LinkedIn that people can reach out. And if I see that I can help you in any ways, I'm really happy to do that. Yeah. Thank you, Priya. Signing off. Bye.